Hi students, I'm going to make a recording drawing with you on a sketchbook page. You can use any white paper, you can use any pen or pencil. If you're stuck at home and you don't have your drawing stuff, you can draw with whatever you have. So we're going to make a page like this. Don't worry about this because I'm going to draw it a little bit at a time, and I will be making sure that, I'll post it on YouTube. You can watch it again if it's going too fast. So I have a couple of pages of eye information I want to draw with you. You can see that I have a lot to give you. So I had you watch the Proco introduction to the human eye. So we're going to work with an eyeball, and those are like ping pong ball size circles. They don't have to be perfect, and you can just go ahead and draw a couple of those for me. And this is actually about how big our eyeball is, maybe a little smaller. So, and on these it's in our eye, it's like a perfect target. It's a circle inside a circle, inside a circle. So we'll go ahead and make the eyeball. And the part that is white, it has a scientific name, the sclera. So the whites of the eyes is sclera. So we'll just learn the medical name for it. We call it whites. The color is the iris. And the black dot in the center is the pupil. And the pupil has its own verb. It dilates. So the change of the light will affect how big the pupil is. Okay? So in here, I'm just going to go ahead and fill in the pupil black. And then the lines inside our iris, if you go look in the mirror, they radiate. And sometimes there's like a darker ring around the outside. So our eyes kind of work like a camera. Yeah, camera works like our eyes, I guess. Eyes came first. Okay, it's not perfectly round, don't worry about it. So over this is the cornea, the lens. And so now I'm going to draw the eye from the side. So there's the iris, there's the pupil, and there's the color in the eye. Okay, and then on top of all that is the cornea. This is the cornea. This is the lens we see through. So once in a while, if we see really well, or there's like a really good macro photography, we can actually see the lens and see light going through it. Okay. So once in a while, it will look like somebody's eye is bulging out. That's because the lens sits on top. Okay. So we'll go from there. Let's just deal with what's going on scientifically. So our eyeballs have a bunch of electrical wiring. running out the back. And to our brain, and I'm just going to make the brain about as big as a walnut. Okay, so there's our eye. It goes to our brain. Our brain is much bigger than our eyeball, but this will just be like a cartoon. Okay, so all the nerves run to the eye. Now, how is this eye seeing? There's a lot going on. The back of the eyeball is like a movie screen, and it is covered with what we call cones. These are light receptors. They're tiny, but I'm just drawing them big. Cones and rods. So the rods are like cylinders and the cones are like cones, and we are filled with all kinds of receptors that pick up light and take everything to our brain. So we need light to see. We can't see in the dark. We know that. Okay. There's a lot of science talk that we could do about how humans see, but right now we're just going to work on how to draw eyes. But it's always a whole bunch of questions that come up. So these are the cones. They receive light. I believe the cones receive color and the rods receive light and dark, and that's how we see. And humans have a lot of cones. Some animals like cats and dogs don't have very many. They kind of only see like blue and yellow. We see a bigger range. And there's other animals that see way more than we do. They have a much more sensitive range of cones than we have. They can see like 3 rainbows. Okay, so that's what's going on with our eye. So let's just draw a few more eyeballs. I mean, if it's bugging you, they're not round, you can find something that's round to help you. So when our eye is open and looking straight forward, we're going to see this pupil. And let's see, our eyes have skin that wraps around and protects our eye. And that skin can have a lot of different forms and tends to be what makes us look like us. So you guys probably have kind of your own childhood way you draw eyes. And what we're going to work on right now is being able to see what's really there. So most of you can just whip out an eye, but it doesn't always necessarily look like the person. So when we're making an eye look like a person, what we're looking for is how much of the iris can I see? Okay, that is question number 1. And so you're going to see some amount of circle. If somebody has wide open eyes, like the person in this drawing, you're going to see almost a full circle. Some people's eyes don't open as much. And in somebody else's eye, we might not see as much of this circle. So the first question you ask yourself as a drawer is, how much of that can I see? Okay? There are a lot of people in the planet all different races that have eyes that are very closed, and that is to protect them from the sun. So it tends to be cultures that had a lot of sun exposure have eyes that are more closed up. And people who needed to get a lot of light into their eyes, like Northern Europeans who went through the Ice Age, they'll have wide open eyes, okay? So our first thing is, how much of this circle can I see? The second one is, how much, that's how much whites of the eye. And what shape are the whites? Okay, so this is a very important question when we're learning how to draw, because like right here, I see a triangle. Do you see it? A triangle. And over here, I see, I'm going to call it a square, but in geometry, I believe it would be called a parallelogram. Okay? So what I want you to see is, if I analyze this, there's most of a circle, there's most of a square, and there's most of a triangle right here. Okay? And then there's this, which is the tear duct. And on almost all humans, we are going to see a tear duct right here. And this is where the tears come from. And it's also where we keep our eyes wet. So we'll do number 3. What does the tear duct look like? Oh. The tear duct always faces the nose. So, sorry, we'll get that. Let's see. So these are my main questions when I'm drawing eyes. How much of the iris can I see? How much of the whites of the eyes? And what shape are the whites? And what does the tear duct look like? Okay, so sometimes we can see it when we're seeing somebody from the side. This person has very different shaped whites, okay? So we want to be able to look at that. And then the last thing we do is look at what happens when the eyelid rolls back. Is there a crease in the skin? Okay. Is there a crease underneath? Because we know this is a ball. And if the skin is like this, and then it opens and reveals. So when the skin opens, it does something, and it makes a wrinkle. It's, beauty creams and stuff would want you to think you need to get some cream and make that wrinkle go away, but that wrinkle is natural. Okay. Now, there's some other things you'll start to see is there's a little ledge here, because when we're asleep, there's like 2 parts that meet, and they seal up. Okay, so sometimes you can see that. Sometimes people put makeup right here and make their eyes look more dramatic. Okay, almost every person, when their eyes open, will have some sort of eyelid going on that we have to look for. And most people will have eyelashes. I personally don't like to draw eyelashes too much, because I think eyes with a lot of eyelashes look buggy. I think they look like a bug is about to walk across the page. Okay. So I don't put too many. To me, this looks like a cockroach or something. I like to just maybe put a few. I don't go for it unless it's somebody who's wearing like fake eyelashes, and that's like part of their look. Same thing with the makeup. If they have like something like cat eyes, you don't really get. And then something you're going to start to see when you look at people is that the eyelid actually makes a shadow on the eye. Usually. So the whites of the eyes are not always white. I'm using a dark pencil so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to back out. Let's see. What else can we talk about right now? Let's talk about two things. One is, let's see if I have some room here. Okay. So this one is, I'm going to draw the eyeball again. And what happens when your eye is closed? So here is an eyeball, and this opening wraps around the eyeball. So inside, behind the skin, is the iris, right? And so how do we draw somebody's eye closed? We usually just show that there's some eyelashes here. This is a closed eye. And I don't think I have an eraser here. Ugh. It's an old pencil. The eraser is not helpful. Okay. So if we're seeing somebody with their eye closed, there's not much going on. And depending on where the light is coming from, there might be some shading that shows that it's an eyeball. And I'll go ahead and draw another eyeball. And what happens if we're seeing the person from the side? Here's the bridge of their nose. And we're seeing them from the side. The eye. Now, I'm going to change that. Sorry. I think I did that wrong. I can't believe it. I took every eraser back to school. I took everything back to school, not thinking I would be home or you would be home. So I'm just going to do my best here. So if, in general, it's going to look like this. It's going to be eyelashes. So here's a closed eye. Because we're seeing this person from the side, I'm not seeing the tear duct. This is from the front. This is from the side. So you're just going to see a few eyelashes. And you can start to see that looks silly, all those eyelashes. But that's just basically, and here's the eyebrow. And the eyebrow's purpose is not for beauty. It's to keep dust out of your eyes. Okay. So we have this hairy eyebrow. Here's the eye. Here's the ball. Sometimes there will be some shading that shows it's round. Okay. So there's the eye from the side. So something that happens when we're drawing is, if we're actually drawing a person, they're not going to sit there. Like all the videos on YouTube, they're drawing from photos. Okay. And a photo is great. You can look at it for however long you need. But the truth is, most of the time, we're going to be drawing a person, and we have to get two eyes that match and flip to mirror each other. We have to do it really, really quickly. So we have to learn to see what's happening really quickly. And sometimes we have to be able to analyze their eye and look at the shapes and draw in like 30 seconds, because those people are only going to sit there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So sometimes, like, so I will just drop the eye in, and then I will say, did I get that right? Did I get that right? How much of that circle is showing? I will just really quickly do a check, because sometimes then what is the shape of their eyebrow? I always say, where does it start in relationship to this? Okay, how far out does it go in relationship to the edge of the eye? Do I see eyelashes? Okay, do I see a shadow, depending on the lighting and where the light's coming from? Do I see an eyelid? What is going on with the tear duct? Do I see lower lashes? Okay, sometimes that's as much time as you have, and you can go back and fix it up. I hope you're drawing with me. Same thing. Say I'm drawing somebody from the side. I know this is their eye. I am drawing the iris right here. I am looking from the eye. The side of the eye is so much easier because I only have to see the triangle right here. I can see I don't see the tear duct from the side, so I don't have to deal with that. I have an eyelid right here. I have an eyebrow that I'm going to have to deal with. We've been talking about this with pen and ink. Don't fill in those eyebrows like solid black that looks, keep it light and hairy. Okay, make it look hairy. So there's the nose. The side of the eye, so much easier than if there's some detail, we'll turn it into a person wearing makeup. Okay? So we have to be able to just get that eye in. Okay? When we're drawing from a photo, we can spend like all month getting details, but when a person is sitting in front of us, the most important thing you want to decide are these three things. How much of the iris can I see? How much are the whites of the eyes, and what are the shapes? And what does the tear duct look like? Okay, if it's from the side, I don't have a tear duct to deal with. Oh, my graphite is shiny. Okay, so that is the start. I have some other things I'm going to put in another video. I'm going to go ahead after 20 minutes and stop that.